go to Heredia, Costa Rica this summer on July 21st through the 31st. Let me go all the way back to how we found out about the organization that we went with, Fusion. Some of you may have heard of the ministry Sun Life. Sun Life is a youth ministry, equipping, training organization. And 2 summers ago, summer of 2016, I took, I think 7 or 8 or 9 of our students to an evangelism training conference called Lead the Cause. And they just go get teaching, training on how to share their personal testimony, how to do evangelism. And they have classes that the students have to go to. And I went in with a couple of our guys, Drew Kemmer and Rodney Pillow. Those guys were in the class that I was in. And the teacher, the guy who was leading the class for them, his name was Jay Fast. And so they had 2 or 3 classes a day, each day throughout that week. And so I got to know Jay on the very first day. When he introduced himself, he said, I work for Sun Life. I organize mission trips for youth groups to go to Central America. And I had already been thinking about and praying about, what I wanted to do an overseas trip. I felt like we were at a place in our student ministry that that would be a good challenge for the students that we had. So I was kind of already thinking, where could we go? What organization could we work with? And so when Jay said, well, I organize mission trips for youth groups, I was like, wow, maybe that's something God wants us to do. It was pretty quick that I felt like we discerned that that's what we wanted to do. So Jay came in, I think, September or October and did a parents' meeting. We got some information out to let kids and families know about the opportunity. And they were able to apply for the trip in December. We got our team together in January. And we've spent a lot of time since January preparing for this trip. The way that I've kind of summarized the trip after coming back myself is to say that the trip was very demanding and it was very meaningful. Demanding in the sense that a lot of the ministry that I've done probably 6 or 7 overseas mission trips, and a lot of times when you take students, it's a work project type trip, and those are great. They're great opportunities. But this one was heavy on speaking, sharing their testimony, going to the public school, and having talks that they had to prepare. They had to do during the week when we were there. In the evenings, we did training for their youth ministry at the church that we were working with. And so they had at least 3 big assignments that they were working on from January until July of preparing I hate to call it a speech, but it was they were working on what are you going to communicate? What are you going to say? And isn't like public speaking like the most terrifying thing for 95% of us, or a big percentage of us, especially when you're younger. And so for them to know that a bulk of their ministry and how they were going to do was speaking and talking. And so it was very demanding. I think it put them outside their comfort zone. That's one thing we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes. But also meaningful. They had opportunity to share the gospel. They had the opportunity to be in relationships with the students that we met down there. I mean, our primary purpose for going was to work with the church that we were working with, Light and Hope, trying to get the Spanish, Luz and Esperanza, Light and Hope.
Yes.
Sorry, I know I'm not going to get it anywhere even close to perfect, but Light and Hope Church, their youth ministry, going down and try to just kind of help them see some of the things that we do as a youth group, give them some biblical foundations of things that we're doing, but help them to be able to do as well. So we developed lots of relationships with the students there. Our students stayed in host homes. They all were assigned to a family where they would spend the evening and would eat a meal with them, get to know, and they were always matched up with a student that was in the youth group. A few of them were in pairs, but a lot of them were individual in their own home by themselves. So that was kind of an intimidating thing ahead of time as well. But I think many of them would say probably one of the most meaningful experiences they had was getting to know their family and getting to know the student that they were assigned to. So I want to give you, I showed some pictures last week. I don't know if all of you were able to see them last week or not, but I added a few pictures to these. I'm gonna show this slideshow, and as we go through, I'm gonna kind of hit the pause button in a few spots. And there's a few things that were, I would say, kind of some of the important things that we did along the ways that the students are going to come and share with you about these different things that we were doing. And then towards the end, each of the students is going to have an opportunity to share what they felt like they learned from the trip. So I'll try to do a little bit of commentary and then find a good place to hit pause, and I'll have a student come up and share. So this is our first picture, I think. That was on the bus on the way up to Chicago. How many of you, this was your first time flying on an airplane? You guys? Did we have any rookie flyers? I didn't sense that anybody was overwhelmed by the flying, but that was a good time. One, I don't know if the person's here who would share this story, we lost a ukulele on the trip in Panama. If anybody ever goes to Panama, you can ask some of the people there, do you find a ukulele laying around here? We managed to leave that in a checked-in baggage up above. This is the multiplication center when we first got there and did some preparation and training for our week. This was Saturday. We just spent some time talking about what we were going to do and making some final preparations. Eric Gustafson, he was the missionary that was there who did bulk of our training. I'm sure I'll have a picture of him in here somewhere, but this was a beautiful property, and I won't be able to tell you the whole story of the property, but God just blessed them to be able to get this property. Fusion has been down in Costa Rica for a couple decades, and they got this property, I think, about 14 or... Let's hit the pause right there, Jamie. So this is just part of our training. This is the Gustafson's home. This is their living room. We just went in there and he did some helping us get prepared, and I'm going to pick. One of you guys jump up here, and I just want you to talk about the comfort zone that we talked about all week long. So it doesn't matter to me who it is, but somebody come on up here and share what this rope and the comfort zone was all about.
Hi, I'm Morgan. One of our big ideas for the week was we were really trying to work on getting out of our comfort zone. So we all had things that come more naturally to us and that didn't really make us nervous, and that was not the point of the trip. So for me, it was not very hard to get out of my comfort zone because I don't enjoy talking in front of people, and we did that a lot. So that was really good for me. So this circle was supposed to represent our comfort zone, so we would talk about what we felt comfortable doing, and then we had to think of ways that we were going to push ourselves out of that comfort zone. And not just like conquering fears or whatever, but it was also representing our faith. So it's really easy to get into like, stay comfortable, get in a rut, go to church, and that's kind of where you stay in your faith. And so they also encouraged us to really think about how we can push ourselves out of our comfort zone in faith. And so like for me, that's meant bringing God up more in conversations with my friends, even back home. So yeah, that was a really big part of what we learned this week in Costa Rica.
So yeah, at the end of the week, when we finally got to the end, he threw the rope out on the floor again. Jamie, you can keep going with the pictures there. Several times during our debriefing, he would bring out this rope and say, how's your comfort zone doing? Have you stepped outside your comfort zone yet? What was that like? How did that feel? Does it help you be able to step outside your comfort zone the next time? And I think, yeah, that's true. And here's some pictures for the public school that we were in. And then you really encourage them, think about how you need to step outside your comfort zone when you get home. It's easy just to kind of live your Christian life kind of to yourself and not really step outside of that and being intentional about making disciples, which is what they really encourage them to do. Mike, do you have a question?
Yeah, what context did you get into a public school?
What context we get into a public school? I think primarily through relationships that the church and the kids and the youth. Several times I asked, how did we get connection here? And they said, well, one of the students knew a teacher. The schools were very open. It was a very different environment than if we were to try to do something here in the public school. They were super excited that we would come and be there. Every teacher that we met, all the students were really energetic and excited about this. The primary objective was for us to go in and speak English. So we went and did an English talk. The kids all prepared a 5-minute talk, just talking about American culture, what it's like to live in the United States, what type of food we eat, what type of activities were in the hobbies that they participate, things like that. So they each gave a 4 or 5 minute talk, and then the pictures that you see where they're kind of in these individual groups, they all had a photo album that they had to. I'll tell you what, Jamie, why don't you pause there, and I'm starting to explain stuff that I think some of them can explain. So, Danny, didn't you kind of gave a summary of this? Why don't you summarize some of this, what they're seeing for?
Of course. Hi, I'm Danny, and as Dave said, we went to the public schools, and so when we went there, we went to the English classes. So I tried to talk in Spanish a few times, and I was told, no, English. So our goal was to share with them about our lives and to build relationships with them, because even though we only got to see them for a few hours, like those relationships were still really awesome to form. So we went and we played a few games with them, and so just to like kind of get to know them a little bit, break the ice a little bit, and get them comfortable and get us comfortable. And then from there we had 3 or 4 people share about United States culture. So we were each assigned a few different topics, whether it be food or religion or things like that. And then so we would talk to them about that, and then as you can see pictured here, we in advance we prepared photo albums with about 20 pictures, 15, 20 pictures in them, and so we were able to go through the photo album and share with the people like specific things about our lives and what was important to us. And within that, we were all very intentional about putting the things that are important to us. And for each of us, one of those, like the biggest thing for us is our relationship with Christ. So putting pictures of our church and friends from church and being able to talk about that with those students was really fantastic, and it inspired conversations about faith and things like that. And at the end of the day, we were able to invite all of the students from the public school to an outreach night we did with the youth group at the church we were staying in.
All right, Jamie, you can keep going with those. Rob, can you come and just share real quick just your conversation with Douglas?
Okay.
30 seconds. I think we got a few more pictures of the...
30 seconds?
Sure. Do it fast.
One of the cool things is the adults didn't really know what we were to be doing. The students were prepped, and they knew what they were to do. They knew what they were going to do in the schools. They knew what they were going to do with the youth group. And the adults were, okay, what does that mean? Well, what I found is it got opened up all kinds of opportunities. I don't speak Spanish, so I was trying to figure out what in the world I'm there. Well, while they're teaching the Spanish class, I got to talk to this English teacher. Just so happened God set you up with a man who speaks English, and he has nothing to do for 6 hours as our students are teaching there. So Doug was a recent divorcee, alcoholic who recently got off the bottle, and so we got to spend hours in his English class talking about how God meets you where you are and some of the other things. And so that was one of the, I'll just say, opportunities that the students did such a wonderful job that really enabled us to talk about different things with other people.
I just felt like that was kind of a divine appointment. Rob really spent a lot of time talking to him. I talked to Doug quite a bit. He was just super excited that we were there and coming to invest in his students, and it was kind of some neat conversations that we were able to have with him.
American?
No.
Is he an American? No.
We lived in America for a short
Okay. No, he was a Costa Rican. So this next set of pictures is from our time with the youth group at Light and Hope Church. Every night we would gather together and spend some time with their youth group, a couple hours, and we would do our ministry foundation teaching. Morgan, why don't you come up and kind of share what our Wednesday night worship, or our evening worship time with the ministry foundation, how we spend our time doing that.
So even though our trip was